Not just one, but two major national polls in the past month have shown that Trudeau is the most hated Prime Minister in Canadian history, and that his party is headed for a humiliating defeat in the next election. So we have to wonder why there are signs that Trudeau may call a snap election this year, 1 year ahead of schedule. As per a Nanos poll published early this month, which asked Canadians, which of the following feelings best describes your views of the federal government in Ottawa, 31% of Canadians feel anger, 31% feel pessimism, 11% feel uninterested, and just 11 and 10% feel satisfaction and optimism, respectively, while 6% are unsure. The April 21st update by 338 Canada, which does regular polls on how Canadians intend to vote, indicates that if an election were held today, the Liberal Party of Canada would win between 51 to 102 seats, while Pierre Poilievre's Conservative Party would win somewhere between 176 and 231 seats. With only 170 seats required to form a majority government, polls show that an early election would be almost certain to see Trudeau's government replaced. Trudeau in 2022 signed a supply and confidence agreement with the NDP under Jagmeet Singh to keep the Liberal cabinet in power until June 30th of 2025. So why did Elections Canada this past week begin preparation for printing ballots in anticipation of a general campaign? The agency, in a notice to contractors, ordered the printing of special ballots for blind voters starting August 1st. The contract does run for 1 year, and as added evidence that the ballot contract may be a nothing burger, late last month the Liberals introduced a bill to move the 2025 election date back by 1 week, to October 24th of next year. The bill, C-65, if passed, would guarantee 80 MPs, most of them Liberals sure to be booted in the next election, a pension, as the additional week would put them just over the 6 years of minimum service requirement. However, Cabinet has been preparing for a snap vote for months. Liberal Party Campaign Committee co-chairs were appointed last November 8th. At Elections Canada this past Monday, completed revisions to constituency boundaries. The revisions are so recent, an up-to-date map is not yet available. However, due to immigration-driven population increase, our next election will see 343 MPs elected, a record number in Canadian history and up 5 from last election's 338. Elections Canada has also appointed returning officers in federal ridings and approved a marketing campaign targeting 2.7 million electors under age 25. Fewer than half of younger voters cast ballots in the 2021 campaign, but clearly the Liberals are hoping to catch more young voters next time, though that seems unrealistic as the Nanos poll showed that young voters are only slightly more likely to vote Liberal than older voters. Despite all this, Chief Electoral Officer Stéphane Perreault told the House Affairs Committee recently that we will need at that point to be able to pivot overnight and be ready to hold an election should one be called based on the new map, referring to the redrawing of electoral boundaries. Perreault also said that the agency would complete electronic voters lists should an election be called in 2024. All we can be sure of at this point in time is that if Trudeau did call an election later this year, it can mean only one of two things. Either he really is abysmally stupid, and in an interview I did some time ago with his half-brother Kyle Kemper, Kyle assured me that while Justin is no Rhodes Scholar, neither is he stupid. Which leaves the second possibility. He knows something we don't. This is entirely conjecture at this point, but here is one possible scenario. The WHO Health Treaty amendments are ratified late next month. Canada is a signatory and obligated to comply then with WHO health orders, including lockdowns and mandatory vaccines. The WHO has been generating their usual fear-mongering with dire predictions of Disease X, the next pandemic. Disease X because they haven't decided yet which kind of bioweapon to use against us. So Trudeau calls an election this fall, appearing to be oh so reasonable and in favor of the democratic process, even though the polls show clearly that he will lose. The WHO shortly thereafter announces a new pandemic and institutes what will amount to martial law around the world, and certainly in globalist-controlled Trudeau land. In the face of this new dire health emergency, the Liberal government suspends elections until the emergency is dealt with, which will only be after the globalists and Trudeau's junta government have instituted CBDCs to track and control us all, for our personal protection and safety, of course.